Hi, I'm Bob,
And I'm Sherry.
and this is Mostly Politics with Bob and Sherry.
And today we're interviewing Mr. Don Nevills.
So, Dawn, did you grew up in Clareton?
I did.
Okay. And I understand you enlisted in the Navy at 17 and became a chief petty officer within 8 years.
That's correct. I knew I was going in the military since the ninth grade. I just wasn't sure which one. By the time I got to my senior year, I decided it would be the Navy. I enlisted in the delayed entry program, and 2 weeks after I graduated, I was in boot camp.
Wow.
Thank you for your service.
Thank
And
you.
what was your rate? What job did you do in the Navy?
I was a quartermaster, and in the Navy, a quartermaster is a navigator. So I spent all my time up on the bridge, planning deployments, navigating in and out of ports, getting us around the world safely.
Okay, great. What and your first was your first business out of the Navy a tattoo parlor?
It was. I started getting a few tattoos in the Navy, as many sailors do.
Mm-hmm.
I had an attraction to it because I do like to draw. I'm artsy. Uh, so when I got right before I got out of the Navy, a good friend of mine was a tattoo artist, and I saw what they were doing, and I decided that was the path I was going to take. So I opened a tattoo studio, and we started from scratch, going from there.
Now, I noticed in your bio you did some distribution as well. Were you a supply business as well as a parlor?
Yes, over the years, I did spend about 26 years in the tattoo industry. 20 of those were tattooing. Another five or six, we owned a tattoo supply company here in Pittsburgh. We had a business on the south side, a tattoo studio, and a tattoo supply company. We supplied all the tattoo studios within a 60-mile radius of Pittsburgh. We had a vehicle that we drove to all of them, delivered supplies. So we got to meet all the artists in the area. It was a really good business. And then COVID hit.
So, one of the questions we have for you is as a small business owner, can you tell us a little bit about how the COVID lockdown policy impacted your business and the business at large in your area?
Sure, absolutely. As I said, we were moving along fine with our business. Everything was going well. Then COVID came, and we were convinced that a 2 week stand down or lockdown would be the answer, which we all knew that it wasn't. However, I, I think most businesses and people were willing to give it 2 weeks to see what happened because we didn't want this to get out of hand. Well, 2 weeks turned into 2 months, 2 months turned into 2 years. When you have businesses on the south side of Pittsburgh, if they're not a restaurant or a bar, you live off the crowds from the restaurants and the bars.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, our governor decided to lock everybody down, add restrictions, which affected the bars and the restaurants significantly. In turn, uh, affected all the businesses on the south side as well. So, with a $3,200 rent and no end in sight of when we could open, we obviously had to make some tough decisions, and we had to close our businesses.
So,
So we lost them basically because of the restrictions.
knowing everything we know now about COVID with hindsight, what would you have done differently, or what would you have liked to seen? How would you like to see us handle it differently?
Well, I would have chose medical freedom over everything. They're forcing the vaccinations and stuff, the mandates. It really took our rights away from us, and they capitalized on that scenario to keep it going. Uh, I would not have closed down at all. I would have kept things going normally until we had more information. There was no information on COVID as far as what its real effects were. The government was shooting from the hip or flying from the seat of their pants, and I just think some bad decisions were made. There was no discussions about it. It went one way or no way at all.
And Don, is that why I know you ran for Congress? If I'm wrong, please correct me, on a write-in campaign, and now you're running for state representative. Did the lockdown have anything to do with the motivation if you want to run in a political office?
I was interested beforehand. I actually ran in 2020. I was an independent then, and I was running for Congress against Mike Doyle. However, that's when COVID hit. And as an independent, you needed 5,000 signatures to get on the ballot, vice 1,000 if you're a Democrat or a Republican. Needless to say, with the lockdown, there was no way to achieve those 5,000 signatures. So I had to pull out of that race. I did run as a write in against Austin Davis, the current seat I'm going against, back in 2020 also, and did fairly well with the write in campaign. However, this year in 2022, I refocused on my Congress campaign against Mike Doyle. Uh, then he decided he was going to step down. However, when we went to get the 1,000 signatures with the reduction in time that the state gave us to get all those signatures, we fell short. I refocused on PA 35 because I know I can help this district and this nation. So as long as I'm helping people, that's what I like to do. I like to solve problems. So I refocused on PA 35. We got the signatures, and here we are on the ballot leading into the primary.
Can you can you
So, real quick, just for the people that may not know, the voters, what municipalities, what areas are covered in PA 35?
In PA 35, we have the cities of Clairton, McKeesport, and Duquesne. We have the borough of Versailles, and then we have Liberty Borough, Port View, White Oak, Whitaker, uh, and there's a couple more that I can't
Is
remember
there,
off the top of my head, but I do have a
I think
list of all of them.
Homestead's in there, so it runs all the way down to
Homestead, West Mifflin,
the
districts 3, 4, and 15,
okay,
West Homestead. Yeah,
okay.
thank you.
So I actually own a business in West Mifflin. I own a flower shop there for many years, and I've seen the devastation in the entire area and how economically it's pretty devastating over there. And what is your plan of turning that around for the area?
Well, my first step is going to be something that hasn't taken place in this district in a long time. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to meet with the people. I'm going to set up meetings in all the communities, and I want to hear the people, hear what they have to say, and what can I do to help them. I'm also going to set up meetings with small business because I know that hasn't taken place. We need to help the small businesses in this district to survive. Uh, with all these mandates and lockdowns, it's really put small business in a jam. So I need to hear from them. I need to hear from the people on what I can do to personally take to Harrisburg to help them advance themselves and stay in business and help this district grow. The first thing I'd like to do is, well, everything I'd like to do is the opposite of what we've had done with our current rep. And I think most people know that. We need to get back to energy independence. Not only does that help the nation, it helps Southwest PA immensely. We've lost so many jobs with the crushing of our energy independence. If we can get back our energy independence, that's going to solve 80% of the problems we have right now.
How do we do that? What are some of the steps you can do to get us back to energy and independence?
Well, we have to set the right policies to allow drilling, to allow fracking, to make sure it's all done right, of course. But we have to, these are our natural resources here in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is oil, gas, and coal. If you don't support oil, gas, and coal, you shouldn't be running for office. You shouldn't be in an elected office. That's our natural resources here. That's what provides us our jobs. That's what provides us our income and our way of life. So we have to embrace that. Now, I'm not opposed to renewable energy. Of course, I think that definitely has a place, and we should always pursue that to supplement our fossil fuels. But you just can't shut off fossil fuels and turn on a magic light bulb and have electricity everywhere. It's not how it works.
What about the inflation right now? Gas prices seem to be leading, one of the biggest areas of inflation. And Pennsylvania has one of the highest gas prices in the nation. I mean, would you be, would you commit to a gas tax holiday, partial or full, for some time to help?
I would commit to a cash tax holiday. The people do need a break. And I would say a partial on the tax because, I mean, we can only do that for so long. The bottom line is we need our energy independence back. That will cure the inflation because everything that is shipped by truck, train, or whatever, the fuel prices are 4 times more than they were. I remember $1.86 not too long ago. I just put my gas in today at 4.19. So if we can get that down, get our energy independence, that's going to solve a lot of these problems as it happens.
Well, I want to change the subject a little bit, and being that I had a business in the area you were running for about 19 years, right nearby West Mifflin, Duquesne border, Homestead. As you know, the crime is increasing. It's always been a little bit of problem with the crime. So, what do you think about the recent call for defunding the police or reimagining the police? And what's your thoughts on that?
Well, to be frank, it's complete insanity. Anybody that thought defunding the police would turn out to be something good obviously doesn't have any critical thinking skills. I mean, most people can think of a scenario and see why that would be good or bad, but for some reason, the Democrats just didn't do that when it comes to defunding the police. And it's not just the Democrat, it's the radical left as well. We cannot defund the police. We have to refund the police. Safety and security is of utmost importance for our district, the country, the state, and the nation. So I want to ensure that the police have what they need to keep our district safe. I also want to ensure that the police continued education, new techniques that come out, because we don't need any mistakes or any problems because there's already enough issues as there is. But defunding the police was a bad move. It was a political move, and it has shown by the increase in crime what that has caused. And I think it's a simple solution to turn that around.
Um, what about public schooling? I mean, it's a really hot topic around the country, in our state as well. What kind of issues do you see in the public schools? And
Well, the first thing I'd like to say is I'm for school choice. So I believe that the tax dollar should follow that child. So you should not be restricted by your zip code as to what school you send your child to. That to me is a huge, huge issue. Right now, uh, schools are introducing things to our kids and uh, denying our parental rights uh, as to what our children should learn in school. And again, it's complete insanity. Parents should have the right to know what their child is learning and have a say so in it.
okay.
So the tax dollars should be able to follow that child. If you want to put your child in a private school, those tax dollars should follow that child.
So if parents have concerns about teaching gender identity to early elementary students, things like that, were there other things you could do to address that?
Well, we certainly don't want CRT and gender training in our classrooms. That's not where it starts. Stuff like that starts at home. If we want to introduce that into our schooling at another time, that should be taken to a vote by the parents.
The area you try to represent, it's a pretty diverse area. So there are two school of thoughts when it comes to CRT. In one school of thought, and people think we should teach part of the critical race theory because they wanted to make sure racism is being taught, not being taught, but being corrected. And the other school of thought is saying teaching CRT will cause drive more racism. So what is your thinking on it? And if you so to be elected, how are you going to unite the Democrat and the Republicans and then work with teachers union?
Well, I'm a firm believer that CRT should not be taught in schools. There, I grew up in the 70s and the 80s, and I saw racism. I saw what was happening in our schools and businesses, and experienced racism firsthand. I witnessed it. I saw it. We have come such a long way. To introduce CRT would set us back 50 years. We are not a racist nation. Our laws are not based on the color of your skin. We need, we, this topic is really, really frustrating for me because, as I said, I've seen racism before and we've come such a long way. And it seems like when Trump got into office, the left started in on this white supremacy, racist rhetoric again as a purely political move. And I just don't agree with that. We are not a racist nation. So I am totally against teaching CRT. Everybody knows that there's differences in our skin color, and I don't think anybody really cares about that. Yes, you're always going to have problems on all sides of the issue, but the bottom line is the majority of people are not racist. We understand our past, and we have worked hard to get where we are today, and will continue striving forward.
What about transgender athletes in schools? Transgender woman competing against girls. What?
There's no place anywhere in our sports for that. Anywhere. I believe that if you're transgender and you want to participate in sports, maybe we should start a transgender sporting league, because it's completely unfair, especially to women. We are biologically different. To see these men going into women's sports and decimating their records on what they've worked so hard for all these decades, for their rights, because women were the rights were violated in the past too. They've come so long for this fight. I can't understand why more women are not jumping up and down and trying to get this resolved. But I see no place in sports for transgender unless you want to create your own league. That's how I see it.
We'll change the subject a little bit, and this is about immigration. So just yesterday, a city in Texas had a full busload of migrants that was dropped off. They are mostly single adult male. So to the left the aisle, they will say, well, since we have such a labor shortage, what's the big deal of having these people in the country? They can actually help the labor force. But to the right of the aisle, people would say, this is a sovereign country and we do need immigration policy. This is an invasion of the border. So if you so to become elected and these buses will start coming into Pennsylvania, what would you do what's your thoughts on this, and what would you do and not do?
Well, first of all, I believe in immigration. I believe in legal immigration, not illegal immigration. We have borders for a reason. We need to secure those borders and monitor immigration properly. Releasing, opening the borders and just allowing people in makes us vulnerable in many, many ways. We have to monitor the people that come into our country. Now, as far as the left saying it's a labor shortage, that to me is pretty funny. We do not have a labor shortage. We have plenty of people that will take these jobs if we just stop paying them to stay home. A lot of people complained about the minimum wage. Now the minimum wage hasn't risen, but it really has if you're looking for a job. It hasn't officially risen. But if you're looking for a job now, the minimum wages are like 13, 14, 15. I've seen $20 to work in amusement parks. But if we're paying people to stay home and we're giving them child credit, and these are people that are perfectly able to get jobs and work, we do not have a labor shortage. So allowing illegal aliens in to fill a false need is absurd.
Why do you think they're transporting them around the country?
If you notice, they're transporting to a lot of swing states. They are counting on these illegals to vote for them so that they can retain power. And that's what this is all about. It's not, they don't care about those people. They only care about their votes. And we know that's why they're letting them in.
Okay.
So, well, just follow up with that. What do you think about um, in election integrity? It's a hot topic among the Republicans and conservatives.
We must have election integrity. We know that there was many issues in the 2020 election. I've talked to the people that audit the vote. I've seen some of their reports and the discrepancies that are coming. And these are from people that are knocking on doors and asking questions. So it's not some political agenda. There were a lot of discrepancies in 2020. We must have election integrity. I understand that there is a lot of lawyers that will be present at the polling stations this time to ensure that we are doing this the right way. But I got to tell you, it was pretty bad in 2020, and if we have a repeat of that, uh, we're never going to see the light of day here.
But Mr. Neville's, your party, Republican Party, is the one voted for Act 77. So what do you say about that to your Democrat opponent? Because Act 77, you can have as many lawyers at the polling stations as you want. How do you ensure the mail-in ballots are going to be valid and legitimate?
I mean, I personally want to get back to election day and only have mail-in ballots for when you have a proper reason to do it. There is no reason why you can't get out and go to the polls. If you're handicapped, then you can have a mail-in ballot. If you are away overseas, whatever, you can have a mail-in ballot. But we need to get back to election day and have elections the way they've always been. Act 77 was pushed through, yes, by the Republicans, but if I'm not mistaken, it was altered quite a bit afterwards by the governor, and that is what was put out to us. So we definitely need to get rid of Act 77. I agree there.
Don, do you have a kind of moral, um, like motivational belief system, something that sort of drives you on a daily basis, maybe filters your decisions and things like that?
I, it's funny. I have to say that my honesty is what drives me. When I was young in the Navy, I had some advice given to me by a senior captain, and that was to always be honest and live up to even a mistake if you make it, because the credibility you gain from that is immeasurable. So if I make a mistake, I'm the first to admit it. I was wrong, and I will correct that mistake. But watching politics and seeing the propaganda and the lies that are put out constantly to us, to the people, is absolutely sickening. When I sit at home, I feel bad for my wife because when I watch TV and I see all this stuff, I'm very vocal about it. So I've always been interested in politics, but never thought about running until the last, 4 or 5 years. But that is my motivation. I am honest, I am truthful, and I'm transparent. I want people to know what's really going on. I'm not just gonna I'm not just gonna sugarcoat things. I will tell the people the way it is. That's why I'll have an open door policy. That's why I'll have meetings within the communities, and that's why I'll be a champion for our small businesses.
Well, let me give you this very last question. And first of all, thank you so much for coming on. We're going to reach out to your
Thank you for having
opponent.
me.
and hopefully before the general, we're able to have your opponent on, have an online debate between you and your opponent. But here's my last question. You are running in a predominantly Democratic district. And what made you think you would be the best person to not only represent your party, but represent your district, which is majority Democrat, majority of the people are registered Democrat?
The reason I'll be better is because I'm going to be effective. The current rep that we have doesn't do any of the things that I mentioned. There is no open door policy. There is no meetings with the community. There is no meetings with small businesses. It's complete silence. And somebody that's struggling and shooting for higher office, and that's not what I'm about. I'm about helping the people, helping what's current in this district. I'm not worried about a higher office. I'm not worried about advancing my political career. I just want to get there and help solve problems the way I've done my whole life.
Well, Don, thank you so much. And there you have it, Mr. Don Nevills. Hopefully, we'll have you back soon.
It's been a pleasure, Don.
Thank
Thanks.
you very much for having me. I
Absolutely.
greatly appreciate the time that you're given.
Thank you.